Okay. Good evening. Good evening once again. We're so sorry for that glitches. We're having some network glitches. So I think we're set now. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. We are starting right away. I would like to begin by introducing myself. My name is Willie Akpan. By the grace of God, I'm the program coordinator for the SDG Connect program. I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm glad that you are here with us too. Please permit me to introduce to us the moderators of this webinar. We have Mr. Emem Julius and Ms. Ito Ekerete. They will be co-handling this session. They will anchor the session from beginning to the end, that the people to invite you to speak, to introduce you, and they will be anchoring the session. So please permit me to introduce them and hand over the floor to any of them that is available here with us. Thank you very much. Mr. Emem Julius. Mr. Emem Julius, are you there? Please, is Ito Ekerete available? Any of the moderators available can kickstart the session. Thank you. Okay. I think we can't find them at the moment. So I'll have to step into that role and play that role until they are able to join us. So just a second, please.
Good evening, sir.
Please, thank you for that patience. So I have to start by introducing the theme for today's webinar session. Like I said, my name is Willie Akpan. I'm the project coordinator for SDG Connect program. So today's webinar is named Sustainable Development in Action, Goals and Roles for Economic, Social, and Environmental Impact. So our objective of this webinar is focusing on translating. Please let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just say
yes, we are with you, sir.
okay, thank you very much. So today's edition of the webinar is focusing on translating the sustainable development into tangible action. Like as you have heard, the theme is sustainable development action. We're exploring the goals and the roles for individuals and organizations and communities for achieving economic, social, and environmental impact. So this session is focusing on these three key pillars of the SDGs, that's economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. The webinar will identify specific goals and the roles for individuals and communities and organizations, and provide a comprehensive roadmap for stakeholders to implement and track sustainable impact solutions. So that is basically what today's webinar will be focusing on. And we have three speakers on the list who are going to be speaking to us. They will be sharing their thoughts on these three areas, three pillars of the SDG. We have Rachel Mwachukwu, who is going to be one of the speakers today. We have Alfred Ndobele. Alfred Ndobele is also one of going to be speaking with us today, and we have Williams Kennedy George. We have these three speakers who are going to be sharing their thoughts with us, and I promise you the session is going to be very productive, going to be successful, and we hope to have your engagement. Please engage with us. If you want to use the chat session, you can use the chat session, ask questions, and engage with the speakers. So once again, welcome to today's session of the SDG Connect webinar series. Thank you very much. So I'm following the agenda of this webinar. I am to welcome all of us which have done and also give an overview of today's agenda. So we are done with the welcome remark and introducing us to what the webinar is focusing on. And I will at this point be bringing to us the first speaker that will be speaking with us. That is Rachel Mwachukwu. Rachel Mwachukwu is going to be speaking to us on the topic, Building Inclusive Societies, the Goals and Strategies for Simple Impact Implementation. Please permit me to equally share with us a brief bio, a brief profile of the speaker. Rachel Nwachukwu is the prime mover of Glimpse of Hope Initiative. She has a bachelor degree in human nutrition and dietetics. She is a passionate community health promoter and advocate for the SDGs, who is passionate about impacting the lives of people positively with special interest for the vulnerable children. In addition, she has volunteered repeatedly for a number of different organizations and has earned an international certification in sustainable development leadership. She has worked for the Nigerian Red Cross Society as a community volunteer and community relations project lead for the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network Nigeria. Welcome to the house, Madam Rachel Nwachukwu. We are going to hand over the floor to you to take on the session.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for the warm welcome and thank you for having me this evening. Please, you would help me with my slide. I'm having some difficulties here, so you will help me control my slide. I hope it won't be a difficult task to ask from you. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. I although I didn't get everything you said.
Okay, I said you will be helping me share my slide. I'm having some difficulties here. You will help me share my slides, please.
Okay, let me try to do that. Please, just give me a second. Let me do that immediately. Please, just a second. I'll get on that.
Okay, I can actually continue. I will continue until the slide comes up.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening once again, and I will be speaking on the topic building inclusive societies, and basically we'll be focusing on the goals and strategies for simple impacts. The simple impacts the actions we take in our communities. What are the impacts we take in our communities, and the strategies for social inclusion? And when I am in a program like this or an event like this that targets or the focus is about sustainable development, so the first thing I would actually say is when I come to events like this and I would be asked to define sustainable development goals. Sustainable development goals, in simple terms, they are actions that we take in the community, or actions with our daily actions that brings about improvement and self-development. Any action you take that brings about self-development, that brings about individual improvement, that is what the sustainable development goals is all about. And we have these 17 goals. And these 17 goals, we have about 169 targets of these goals. And we have indicators of this goal. And what are indicators? Indicators are simply what measures the progress. What measures progress of these goals? They are called indicators. So we have 169 targets. And when I come to encourage youths or people like me, I would say doing all the 17 or taking actions in all the 17 goals is a whole lot. So we tend to focus on one goal. You pick a goal, and under the goals, there are different targets in each goal. As goal 1, no poverty, has its own targets. There are targets under the zero hunger. There are targets under each 17 goals. They have different targets. So we focus on one target and try building or making impact in such in each of the goals. So from my slide here, the World Summit for Social Development, held in March 1995, established the concept of social integration to create an inclusive society. So what this inclusive society simply means society for all. And it is one of the key goals for this sustainable development goals. One of the key goals of this, the key goal is what? Making the society inclusive for everyone. Each goal should be inclusive. Thank you very much, Willie. Each goal must be inclusive. Inclusive society simply means a society for all. This would mean a society in which every individual, each with equal right and responsibility, has an active role to play. In your various communities, you have an active role to play. And this is what we call, this is what we call simply social inclusion. That such inclusions must be based on respect to all humans. You have to respect each other's freedom. You respect each other's cultural background. And we don't keep the people, we don't keep the vulnerable out of it. So we include, it's an inclusive society where everyone has a right and has a role to play. Sorry about the noise.
Oh, wow.
Sorry for that. I'm sorry, we are trying to share my slides. We are having difficulty. Sorry about that. Okay, because of time, let me continue before my slide comes up. So we have, okay, thank you very much. The fourth slide, please. Mr. Willie, can we continue?
Wow.
Mr. Willie, please, can we continue?
Ayo kwa change. Nzong karaba. Abdullahi. Abdullahi. Come on, football for us. Good evening, man. Welcome.
Speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Willie, can I have you back here to control the room, please? Can someone help me control the room? Mr. Emmanuel, please, can you hear me? Okay, sorry about the glitch. Let's just continue. Hope everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, please, can I see maybe a sign or an emoji on in the chat, please?
Sincere apologies. Issues with network over here, and I'm so sorry about that. I heard everything you said, but I think at some point I got locked out, so I was trying to join in. That is it. You were very loud and clear, so you can continue.
Okay. What's the slides? Okay, let's just continue. Why inclusion is important. Okay, we started with explaining what, sorry about the glitch, and okay, we started with explaining what the SDGs is all about. And I said, SDGs are simple actions we take, simple actions that brings about improvements and brings about development as an individual, as a community, as a nation, and the world at large. And I said we have 17 of them, and we have 169 targets with their various indicators. And these indicators are simply what measures the progress at a certain level. And these indicators will say at this level, have we really achieved this goal or not? So they are measures. Those indicators are what actually measures the progress of these goals, if we are achieving the goal or not. And my topic, I would be basing my topic on building inclusive society. And as I mentioned earlier, this simply means society for all, where everyone has a role to play. As an individual, you have a role to play, irrespective of who you are, whether persons having disabilities or not, whether you are rich or poor, we all have a role to play. We all have an impact, and I'm talking about strategies for impact. The little impact you do, how inclusive is it? The little impact you make in your communities, projects you carry out in your various communities, how inclusive are those projects? How inclusive are those work you do? And because of time, we've spent a little time. I would have loved to hear from two persons in just a minute. Tell me your name and tell me what you do in your community, or just, I want to know what you do and your name and what you do. Just please, can you permit two persons to speak? I just want one person, 1 minute each. what you do, your name and what you do, the project you do. So I can see Dan Abu Michael. Please, can you unmute Dan Abu Michael? Let's hear from him.
Yes, I'm a humanitarian. I'm Dan Abu Michael Ngwede. I work with a national NGO and I'm a humanitarian.
Okay. What's a specific goal do you tag? What specific goals?
Yes, we in the instance of like okay, specifically our mathematic area is emergency response.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you very much. We can have Tyson. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Tyson, please. Can you unmute Tyson? Let's hear from him.
Okay. Sorry, don't mind my name on Zoom. My actual name is Dr. Ikechukwu. I am actually an environmental researcher, and my area is actually I'm actually focused on contributing towards the achievement of SDG number 7 and SDG number 13, climate action.
Okay,
so
that's beautiful. Thank you very much, Dr. Ikechukwu. Thank you very much. So we sustainable development goals and social inclusion. We talk about each goals and how inclusive are these goals. And I just picked a few goals to talk about. And we have SDG 1 talking about no poverty. So it's the target of SDG 1 is ending in talking about SDG 1 with how inclusive is SDG 1? And SDG 1 says end poverty in all its form for everyone. SDG 2 is talking about ending hunger to achieve food security and improve nutrition for all. SDG 3 too, good health and well-being. We have SDG 4, SDG 5, SDG 10, and SDG 16. So I will be focusing on this particular SDGs I have mentioned. So why inclusion is important in societies? In this world, in this contemporary world, inclusion emerges as a fundamental pillar for constructing resilient and prosperous communities. Diversity not only enriches social life, but also propels innovation and progress. Increasing access to social services such as universal access to equality, basic education, and universal health care is an important aspect of social inclusion, and these services enables people to function and contribute to societies. Having rights and possibilities to access physical spaces of city is a recurring theme among projects aimed at addressing marginalization. For example, in cases with persons with disabilities and older persons. So these are ways which we can actually why inclusion is actually important. And we say it increases access to social services and universal access to quality basic education. And it provides, and these are reasons why social inclusion is actually important. And we have dimensions to this social inclusion. We have the social dimension, we have the cultural dimension, we have the religion dimension, the economic dimension, political, environment, legal, physical, and rational. We have so many dimensions to social inclusions and steps to promoting social inclusion. I'm just going fast through my slides, so I would have a bit time to discuss about projects that people do and ways we can actually include strategies to make our projects that we do in our communities more inclusive. So steps to promoting social inclusion. 1, visibility. First and foremost, people need to be noticed, recognized, and have their own voices. So these are the steps and reasons, and these are steps and reasons why we ought to promote social inclusions. We are here trying to promote social inclusion, and one of the reasons is visibility. And people need to be noticed. People need to be recognized and have their own voices. There is no possibility of having a voice of an individual or group if they are not counted, or if each group is not represented, their voices are not heard. So it is actually important that in projects we do, we actually encourage inclusion because it brings about visibility. And secondly, consideration. And these concerns and needs of individuals and groups are taken into account. Concerns of individuals and groups are taken into account. Often, policymakers do not consider the poor or other marginalized groups as important stakeholders, and therefore do not incorporate their needs and concerns. And thirdly, we have access to social interactions. People must be able to engage in society activities and social networks in their daily lives, including economic, social, cultural, religious, and political activities. We have rights. People must have the right to act and claim. People have to actually exercise their rights. That is why they are allowed or permitted to or included in our projects. And let's talk about effects of social inclusion. We have poverty, we have limited rights, we have lack of access to public spaces, we have limited opportunities, we have limited work, limited language, limited mobility, abuse, and neglect. And tips to making our project inclusive. So to be most successful, there is need for cultural inclusions. Sections have to be facilitated by members of a particular demographic you are seeking to reach, both females, children, and persons with disabilities. So let me stop here and try and let me be practical in projects we do. So one of the reasons why we encourage social inclusion is that each and every group have their concerns and they have their needs. For example, except I am working with a target group, or I come to a community trying to carry out a project. If I have a target group or I'm targeting just the women or the adolescent girls or persons with disabilities, these are my target group. But in a case where I am coming for a general community project, it has to be included. I should be able to have all these groups represented, both the children, the adults, the old, persons with disabilities, and all that. So they should be included in each of the projects we do. And that is why it is actually important for us to include people. We should include every demographic should be represented in our projects. People with disability should be given the option of joining an open section classes if they feel comfortable to do so. Participants with differing disabilities do not necessarily want to always be placed in one group. So I would be focusing on topic with persons with disabilities and when it comes to education. So when it comes to education, we say education is critical to this to topics about social inclusion. It is actually important that we all come together and advocate for inclusive education. And I want to give reference to a particular project being done by some organizations. And I want to ask a question. we have this particular marginalized group that we actually don't really talk about much, and they are these teenage mothers and pregnant girls. So we find out that these people actually drop out from school at some point due to these challenges. And this while in school, it's not as if we are encouraging teenage pregnancy. No, we are not encouraging teenage pregnancies. There are numerous disadvantages to teenage pregnancies, but in cases where such happens, what do we do? And we tend to see a large number of this particular group of persons drop out from school. So we are talking about little impacts we do, strategies for impacts we do in our societies. How inclusive do we make such projects? The projects we do in our society, how inclusive are those projects? And we've seen steps we can take in making our project more inclusive. So this project is group of persons coming together and trying to work on like including these dropouts, because there's a large number of persons or these teenage girls dropping out from school. So they tend to go so teenage mothers drop out from school, resulting in the disruption of their education. And most parents, you see, most parents deprive their children, or the punishments being given to this teenager as when a teenage girl becomes pregnant, the punishment that parents tend to give to these teenage girls is depriving them from continuing with their educations. This is the punishment we see common in our communities. And how do we include this particular set of people into the projects we do? And there are ways we can actually, and these are simple projects which people indulge in, bringing them back to school. So they go and talk to their parents, take their parents through certain counseling sections, because at this stage, these teenage girls are passing through not just a physical challenge, they are passing through also mental challenges. And we have to, there is need for them to also to be included in what we do, to have this access to proper, or to be included in projects around education. So to create and sustain inclusive society, it is critical that all members of society are able and motivated to participate in civic, economic, and political activities, both at the local level and the national level. A society where most members, if not all, feel that they are not playing a part, or have access to basic needs and livelihood, they are to participate in decision-making processes. This affects their lives in the society, and it doesn't, and that will best foster inclusiveness. So there, and also when it comes to persons with disabilities, how do we make projects we do inclusive for them? And there are like where in choosing halls where projects are being carried out, how do they assess such places? How can they assess such buildings if you need to include them in your project? So to allow people from a particular demographic set of a demographic group to speak actually brings about this inclusion in little things we do, in projects we carry out in the community, it is actually important that every group is represented, not just represented, they are allowed to express themselves in that group. And we talk about allowing them speak, like when it comes to a need assessment, when you want to carry out a need assessment in a community, there's actually it is actually important that your need assessment should include both the children, the adults, persons with disabilities, so you'll be able to know their individual needs and target those with a higher priority when it comes to carrying out your project. So it is important that every group is actually included in projects we do, in projects we do in our communities, projects we carry out in our communities. And we talk about that also poverty, when it comes to this inclusiveness, it is there's a saying that goes this way, that we don't achieve these goals will not be achieved when a particular set of people are not included. We achieve these goals when we are all included, when we all have a role to play, when we all feel accepted, when we all feel included in a particular project we do. That is when each person will feel represented. Each person will feel their rights is being respected. So inclusiveness brings about respecting rights of individuals. And in projects we do, we have to be conscious of respecting people's rights. And one of the ways we respect people's rights is including them in little projects we do, the little projects we do in communities. It is actually important. We actually include all sets of demographic in our projects. Talking about persons with disability, lately we have been talking about including persons with disabilities, and we want to understand how they can be included. And we had some discussions with them, and they spoke, and they spoke with us, and they told us how they want, and it was an impactful program for me, because I learned a lot. Because when you invite them, you allow them express themselves. How do you ask, how do they want to be included in projects we do? So we can see in the Olympics, in the game, where these persons with disabilities are being included, they are marvelously well when it comes to that aspect. So in our little projects we do in our community, how inclusive, what do we speak for this marginalized, how do we advocate for this marginalized group? There are specific ways we advocate for this marginalized group, so that they can be included in our project. And I talked about these teenage girls who actually drop out of school as a result of this teenage pregnancy. They drop out of school. That most parents of these students, they are they are actually giving schools nowadays. Okay, there is an advocacy to schools that when such happens, a child should be allowed to remain in school as long as she wants to be in school. So these are new topics we have to talk about. These are things we need to talk about, we need to advocate for. So schools who can actually keep these girls, schools who can actually leave them at that period where they are able to remain in school. If they are able to remain in school, they should be allowed to remain in school till their maternity period. But we find out that most of these girls, even after giving the maternity, they leave school before they are even given this maternity leave. And some who are on maternity leave do not return back to school. This is probably because of the way they are being treated at home or being provoked in school, and they don't tend to come back. And we say and we are working towards achieving education for all. We are working towards where everyone has the right to education. A male has an equal right to education, just if a female child has an equal right to education, just as a male child has an equal right to education. So, but there are circumstances that comes up and makes it difficult for some set of marginalized group not to attain this goal or not to achieve this goal. And when it is not inclusive, when it is not inclusive, the goal is not achieved. And even before the maternity period, the teenage mother or the teenage pregnant girl tends to leave school because of the way they are being provoked by the school administrators or the way they are being rejected at home. So there are projects which actually organizations go into projects advocating for these girls, going to talk to parents, counseling parents that depriving them from continuing school, it's not the best solution, because it can actually the circle of poverty, the circle of achieving goal 1 will not be achieved. If we want to really achieve all the goals, education is one of the goals we need to advocate for. It is the basis to achieving all these goals. If we want to achieve this, if we really want to achieve these 17 SDG goals, we have to prioritize I'm not saying they are not, each of them are very important, but educating an individual goes a long way to achieving these sustainable development goals. And we have to speak for them. They are a group of persons that need to be included in what we do. So this marginalized group, these teenage mothers tend not, and most parents, the best punishment, even when they become pregnant, they deprive her from going to school, or they stop her from going to school as a punishment of being pregnant. This is the punishment they feel is best, but we need to rewrite or educate them more on seeing the importance of the teenage girl going back to school, the teenage girl reducing her, and maybe when we're advocating for when she is able to stay in school, she should be allowed to stay in school at that period until her maternity. And after giving birth, after 6 months, she should be allowed to come back to school to continue her education. But there is a tendency that such group of persons would actually do well when they come back to school, because coming back to school, they have this consciousness that they are not you, because they go through counseling. You don't just leave them. When you bring them together, you counsel them, you talk to them, and during this period, you show them we showed counseling the mothers also to show them love at this period, because they are going through a lot of challenges, and this will enable them have that confidence of returning back to school. They would have that confidence of coming back to school to participate in what others are actually doing in school. So these organizations go to talk to parents, educate parents of the need of the girl child still continuing her school. So after that period of maternity, the girl is allowed to come back to school and finish up her education. And those group of persons coming back to school tends to do well, because they have this sense of, it is not just being responsible for themselves alone, but they have no right to fail, because they also have a little child, or they also have a little they also have a little child whom they are also responsible for. So it is actually important we speak for this group of persons And I speak to organizations or persons working for this marginalized group. There are some cases where we have projects in communities and we tend to make it as inclusive as possible, and we don't see those group of persons. So it is actually important that in things we do, we actually go back to this group of people and encourage them to also show up, especially persons with disabilities. And one of the challenges we have is when it comes to, okay, we have this current teachings that how we address them, and they said they don't address them as persons living with disabilities. We address them as persons with disabilities, not persons living with disabilities. So we actually, that the way you address them actually makes them comfortable. So when they come into our space, we should make the environment as conducive as possible for them. We should make this environment conducive for them so that they would be able to express themselves better. They would be able to feel, they will feel included in what we do. And we talk about making the space conducive. When planning your projects, you make the place accessible for these persons with disabilities. There are actually, if it comes to a project where you get someone who interprets, who does sign language interpretation, we should have such persons interpreting for those who are hearing impaired, so that they will be able to follow up, or they will be able to follow up or flow with what we are doing. So it is actually, it is important they flow and understand what we are actually doing. I can't go to a community and want to carry out a project or sensitize them on a particular topic, and I want it to be inclusive, and I will not get someone who can interpret sign languages. And this is why I'm also encouraging those people working with this vulnerable group of persons, encourage them also to come out when we go. And that is why it is important for partnership. We cannot achieve these goals alone. We have to partner with each others. So we have this, if we actually want them to participate in our projects, we have organizations already working with this marginalized group or this vulnerable group of persons. We can get in touch with them and ask them, like, when you want to address when you want a project to be inclusive, and you are bringing someone who is going to maybe use sign language for interpretation, and coming to that place and you don't see anybody with sign language. Because I personally had that challenge where I came and it was a campaign, and actually at the end of the campaign there were some set of persons we actually met, and through the whole campaign they were there listening. We thought they were part of what we're doing, and at the end of it we actually found out that they all this while we have been saying all this, they can't hear us. So we actually felt the need of, if we had someone who interprets, who had done interpretation, or who had explained what we came for in sign languages, that even this small group of persons we met, we actually go with this message to their group, to their larger group, and also pass this information to them. So it is important also that when we are making the project inclusive, we work with these organizations who are already working with this particular set of people to include them. That is where the inclusion comes. We invite them through this. It might be difficult to come to a community, like coming into a community and having access to these persons might be very difficult for you to reach. But working with organizations who already have their data or who already who already keep in touch with them, it is easier to access these groups easily. Where you invite them, it is easier to access this group easily. You collaborate with them, invite them to come to, you invite them to be to your project or what you do in the community. So tips for making this your project so for you to have a project that is inclusive, that is truly inclusive, that it is actually important that you allow each of them speak, both female, both the youth, persons with disability. You have to make them as inclusive as possible. And people with disabilities should be given the opportunity to choose their own groups. So we've actually found out that most people don't feel comfortable where they are in groups of where they are in separate groups. So people with a particular set of disabilities should be allowed to stay in groups. Like what I actually mean is people who have hearing impairments wish to stay in the same group with their own kind of persons. With their own kind of persons where they feel relaxed, where they feel relaxed and they can actually communicate properly. They can actually communicate with each other. So they should be allowed to make their decisions on the specific group they would want to join. And you allow people from particular demographic, you allow them to speak. So participants with different disabilities do not necessarily want to always be placed on one group. They don't necessarily want to be placed on one group. So they would prefer to be placed on group they feel more relaxed. Or when you are carrying out the project, inclusiveness means what? Making the environment also conducive for them. Making when it comes to education, making education environment inclusive and conducive for even the girl child. Even the girl child, the environment should be conducive for her to be able to learn properly. And let me conclude here. Let me conclude here. To create a sustainable, to create and sustain inclusive society, it is critical that all members of the society are able and motivated to participate in civic, social, economic, and political activities. So it is actually important that we speak to this group of persons, and they should be given the right to participate in whatever they want, in areas they want to participate in, and contribute what they need to contribute. So I would be calling on all individuals and organizations working in making the world a better place, those working for the marginalized group, to also educate them and encourage them to come out and participate when these strategies of inclusion is being, when we encourage inclusion, it is actually important to encourage them to come out and participate so they can be heard. Education plays a critical role in this area, and it will provide opportunities to learn the history of people, the cultures of people, and particularly for young people, education provides opportunity to instill values of respect and appreciation of diversity. So in this inclusion, it is actually important that we respect each other's diversity, and this is where we all have a role to play. So education, when you are educated, you'll be able to respect one's diversity. So if you will be able to respect one's diversity, respect who they are, what they are, and when we respect each other, there's something we call boundaries. We respect each other's boundaries. So there is no way we can actually fail in this inclusion if we want to actually achieve these goals. So we need to advocate that each person needs to be heard. All demographic needs to be included to make our project inclusive for people to thrive and participate in the projects we do in our communities. So thank you very much for this section. I would allow others to, and if there is any question, I will come in and respond to any question. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that very beautiful presentation. I mean, that was wow. That was so wow. I mean, the things we have learned is more than enough to even put the session to a wrap. But then we have to still hear from the other speakers and their what they will have to share on the other pillars of the SDGs. Thank you very much, Madam Rachel. I really learned a lot. I want to believe all of us have equally learned. So please, we have to just call in the next speaker, and then if you have your question, you can hold on to it. We're going to have a time for that where you ask your question, or if you can drop it on the comment section, we are going to also read out and then respond to it. Thank you very much, ma'am. So at this point, I want to respectfully again invite to speak to us the next speaker, and that is Alfred Ndobele. Alfred Ndobele is here with us. Hello, sir. Are you there?
Hi, Willie. Good evening.
Hello, sir. Alfred.
Yeah, here with you. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can see you. I can see you right there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I should go on with my presentation. Hello, if you can hear me, let me know if I can proceed with my presentation.
Yeah, proceed.
Moderator, Willie, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Sorry about that.
Can I proceed now?
Please, you're welcome to the session. Let me do a brief introduction of you. Like I said earlier, the person right on the screen is Alfred Ndobele. Alfred Ndobele is a seasoned professional. Please give me just a second to give us a brief bio of him. So welcome, sir. Alfred Ndobele is a highly motivated clean energy expert with years of experience in research, analysis, and project management in the clean energy sector and decarbonization sectors. Equally, Alfred holds a master's degree with distinction in energy access and renewable energy technology from the Offshore Technology Institute, University of Port Harcourt. He also has a bachelor's degree in chemical and petrochemical engineering from River State University. He's quite passionate about SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy. Alfred has been instrumental in several high-impact projects, including school electrification in Madagascar and solar mini-grid installations in Nigeria, and so on. He has a very long record of impact that he has made within the sustainability sector. So welcome on board, sir. I want to believe your session is going to be very inspiring, and we're looking up to learning a lot from you. Thank you. Welcome to the session, sir.
All right, thank you, William, and thank you everybody for having me here. So quickly, we'll just go straight into it. And I also want to say thank you to Rachel. I mean, you did a good presentation, and thank you to you. You spared me a number of explanations, and I think I am grateful because I already budgeted that somebody is going to help me do the introductions. So thank you for helping me make my presentation even easier. Thank you so much. So straight into my presentation. I mean, if you can see my screen, just please let me know.
Yes, we can see.
All right,
we can see. Thanks.
All right, so I'll be speaking on protecting our planet. I mean, goals and strategies for simple impact. So again, my name is Ndobele, Alfred Ndobele, and I'm happy to have all of us here for this brief conversation. I mean, like I said, I'll just try to make mine brief so we can have time for other questions and things ahead. All right, so, all right. So, but why is this important? So we're talking about the planet, we're talking about sustainability. Why is this important? Why do we even have to think of protecting the planet? So the picture I have on the screen here is just a little, I mean, just a picture to depict our galaxy, the Milky Way. I mean, for astronomers and maybe people who are atmosphere or galaxy inclined. So we are told that I mean, Earth and the Earth solar system, the sun and planets are encircled within the Milky Way galaxy, where we have the sun and the planets. And then because we are talking about planets here, that's why I have to bring this to mention. And we can see our dearly beloved Earth here, the third planet away from the sun. And we can see the beautiful color and how beautiful it is amongst his brothers and sisters. And today we are talking about how we can protect it. But the big question is, why is it important? I mean, if we don't protect Earth and keep Earth safe for us, where are we going to go to? Are we going to go to Venus or Mars? Maybe we'll follow Elon Musk to Mars, or we'll go to Jupiter, or we'll go to Saturn. I mean, is it even possible? That's the question. The best possibility is to travel to Mars. I mean, but what is happening in Mars? I mean, how many people can afford Elon Musk jets to Mars? So those are the big questions we need to ask ourselves, but on a lighter note. So this is the reason why it is quite important that we have to protect our planet and, make it safe for us to live. And talking about living in our planet, I mean, what are the essentials of life we're talking about here? So we're basically talking about food, water, shelter, clothing, medical necessaries, and medically necessary healthcare. So if you have food, you have water, you have shelter, you have clothing, you have healthcare. What else are we talking about? So protecting our planet essentially is just to help us see that while we live on Earth as human beings, we can be able to have these basic amenities. And then I have a plus here. The plus is something that is very interesting for all of us, plus plenty enjoyment. We like enjoyment. So we have to be able to enjoy, to go out for pleasure, go to the beach, do anything we want to do, and then come back safe. So as human beings, we love pleasure. We love to enjoy. We love to have good lives. So this is the reason why we need to protect our planet, because if we don't protect our planet, we cannot grow food, we cannot have clean water, we cannot have shelter. How are we supposed to have shelter? We're supposed to have shelter by being able to provide our own clothing, and be able to be in good health. So this is why it's important that we protect our planet. And how can we do this? So we have had explanations about the Sustainable Development Goals and how they can help us. So thank you again, Rachel, for helping me explain all of this. I don't have to go into all of those, but we'll just be touching on the SDGs that will help us see how we can protect our planet, a number of them. And the first one we're having here is SDG Goal 6, which talks about ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Currently in Nigeria, even around the world, we are having the cholera outbreak. How is cholera transmitted? Cholera is simply transmitted through feces, of a contaminated person, passed how? Through water and the food we eat. In many cases, if you're able to take care of the water you drink, you use for cooking, in many other cases, you'd have good health. So we have this SDG talking about clean sanitation, clean water, and one of the targets we have is that we should achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. I don't know how many persons here are above 30 or up to 50, but for those who are advanced in age, they would recall that even when they were younger, we didn't need to buy multiple of these. Today, everybody wants to have bottled water, sachet water, as the only source of good drinking water. But before now, we had people drinking water from wells. They were fine, they were okay, they were doing well, up until we began to pollute our planet, we began to pollute Earth. Now, nobody can trust drinking water coming from a well again. Nobody can trust drinking water coming from the tap. Everybody has to get sachet water, bottled water, and all of that. So that is a problem. And that's why SDG 6 is trying to address that challenge. So it's also talking about access to adequate and equitable sanitation, hygiene, and all of that, open defecation. Around, even in cities, even in cities in Nigeria, you go across some places and then you find open defecation and ask yourself, what are we turning into? Are we going forward or we are going backwards? So these are issues that we need to treat. Improve water quality by reducing pollution. And for those of us in the Niger Delta, we have the first feeling of this when it comes to water pollution and how it's affecting health and all of that. So these are, goals, these are targets of Goal 6 to ensure that we have availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation. Because recall that in the essentials of life we shared in the previous slide, we need to have food. Water is food in itself, because starve a person from water, you're almost killing the person. So we have SDG 7, which is one of the biggest SDGs, talked about most recently. It may not be the most important, but it has a significant role, being that it connects to almost 113 targets out of 169 targets of all SDG combined. It is 113 of them are linked to access to affordable and reliable, energy, clean, as a matter of fact. Why is this important for our planet? Because we didn't have this issue before now. So it means we are doing something around the planet, on Earth, our own planet, that is contributing to the fact that we now need to think about, keeping the planet safe. We now need to think about clean energy. We now need to think about, okay, fossil fuel is not good. But there was a time when fossil fuel was the best energy, right? But now we're saying that, okay, we've discovered that these things are not helping us. And so we need to find a change. And part of those targets is to ensure to increase substantially the share of renewable energy. So everybody today is talking about renewable energy, renewable energy, renewable energy. That's the reason. Because if you can use a cleaner source of energy, it's going to save our planet. How is it going to save our planet? We're talking about CO2 emissions, greenhouse gases. So as a person, as an individual, as a company, as an organization, by whatever means you can to reduce carbon emissions by shifting to renewable energies, be it solar, wind, hydrogen, hydro, by you consuming more hydropower, building more dams for countries, that can save and that can help us. But as a person, how can you contribute? So we're also having that we should double the rate of improvement in energy efficiency. So when we talk about energy efficiency, it's not just about what the government is asking us to do. As a matter of fact, if you have energy bulbs today, you pay less NEPA bill, so you're saving money in your pocket. So it's not just about what people are saying, but how can you as a person contribute to? Anytime you use less energy, it means you're saving the planet. Anytime you leave your house and then you off appliances, it means that less energy is consumed. And worst case scenario, that energy is produced from fossil-related sources, you are saving carbon emission, your own self. So you can have a sense of self-reporting. People do these things, they report how much emissions they are trying to abate by the way they live, by the lives they live, by the way they consume energy. And then cooperation is very important in all of this, and to promote investment in energy infrastructure and the likes. So this is one way, because energy and CO2 emissions, methane, all of these things, the energy industry, as a matter of fact, globally, the people contributing to the climate funds are big corporations, oil companies. They are being taxed, and the tax governments and international organizations tax these companies, and what we are benefiting in terms of grants, loans coming to developing countries, Nigeria and the likes. So this is what we mean. So in your own space, when you turn off the lights, know that you're saving the planet. When you do not use lights, when you build, maybe you're an architect and you design buildings such that people don't need to be turning on the light all the time, because the place is well aerated and we have enough sunlight coming into the room. Then you're also saving the planet, because we're talking about energy here. And energy is one of the primary ways by which emissions go into the environment. We have SDG 12, ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns. So why is consumption and production patterns important here? Because everything today is produced, everything we consume is produced, and everything produced is intended for a consumer. So if we can ensure that the methods by which we produce and consume are sustainable, then, we're saving the planet. So, we hear the saga about the Dangote refinery and the Dangote diesel, today, that prior to the Dangote refinery and the Dangote diesel, if I may, imported diesel into the country contained high amount of sulfur, way, way, way beyond accepted levels for international standards. By the way, the Nigerian crude sent out of the country is one of the best crude in the world. So as a matter of fact, we are consuming dirty fuels. And what that means is that in all the engines it's used, in everything and everywhere it's used, the emissions coming out of those engines are, contributing to our planet and to the degradation of our planet. However, I must mention that whatever any person on earth does, out of the 8 billion persons as of November last year's estimates, in 2022 or 2023, we have about 8 billion estimates in the world today. Whatever one person does affects everybody. So if I have a poor habit in Nigeria, somebody in China, somebody in the US is going to suffer from it. That's why whatever habits were in China, in Germany, in the US, and those developed countries, we as Africans, we are suffering from it, because those persons did not ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. And so today we are talking about, carbon sequestration and all that. Just for want of time, I'd just like to rush through this so we can finish in record time. So we need to achieve the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources, be it crude oil, be it even hydro energy, solar, precious minerals, mining. I mean, that's an important sector. I mean, we don't even pay close attention to. Substantially reduce waste generation through prevention. So today you have a bottled water, a plastic bottle containing water. So after this one, this is just about how many liters of water, and not up to a liter, 60 centiliters. I mean, okay, about 60 centiliters, not up to a liter, right? I mean, my maths. And then you have to take how many liters of water a day? 2 liters by recommendation. And so how many plastics are you going to drop into the environment? So these are questions, and these are things we need to consider. How do we consume? How do we produce? How do we consume? So this is why we need to think about reuse, recycle, and all of those paradigms when it comes to use of plastics as a case study here. We are to encourage companies, especially large and transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices and reporting, very important. I talked about reporting earlier on, how it's important that we report how we are saving our planet. And time is going to come in. So for those of us in the space, we know about carbon credits. We know about carbon accounting and all of those things. You know, people get paid for how much they are saving the planet. So, I mean, it's not just about the planet. You can make money too, but we are getting there here in Nigeria. So another one we're talking about today is taking action, urgent action to combat climate change. And this is for SDG 13. So climate change, I mean, for all of us, we're experiencing it. We're talking about flooding. We're talking about intense heat wave. We're talking about a number of things. If it's in the advanced countries, hurricanes, in most parts of Africa, droughts, and all of these things. So how can we save our planet from this? Because when we have drought, all that means is that we cannot even produce food. When we have intense heat waves, what that means is that we continue to suffer health complications. So we need to protect our planet by taking actions. Some of those targets we're looking at is to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries. So this is important to mention. So we have here all countries. This does not mean one country is left out, because whatever any country does is affecting the rest of the countries in the world. So that is why the US can send money to Nigeria for a climate action, a climate initiative, but Nigeria is not even Nigeria may not even be the one to claim actions for those money. So the US is the one, or the country, saying we have done this and we have done that. While Nigeria can report, they also have a claim to reporting that they have done this and they have done that, because they also need to participate. Everybody is interested. The climate is changing. We're talking about increase in temperature. I mean, how can we survive on Earth if we do not live, I mean, within the range of temperatures allowable for human beings? Are we going to turn to apes, or what are we going to turn to in the future? These are concerns. These are things we need to look at and you know, ensure that we make our own contributions towards combating it. We're also talking about climate change measures, international policies. So in Nigeria, we have the Energy Transition Plan that was launched in in August 2022 by former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. And this energy transition is talking about getting to carbon neutral by 2060. A lot of plans, and these are the things we are talking about. Saving our planet, you must hear me talk about something that companies have to do, something that countries have to do, something that big corporations have to do, and not so much about what individuals have to do in many cases. Not that we don't have what to do. You hear me talking about what we need to do, and we'll still talk about it later. But this is to tell you that it is more about what we are all doing. That's why it's very important. Improve education, awareness. I mean, this webinar is also part of the awareness we're talking about, to raise awareness, you know, tell people this is real, this is real, this is real. We keep shouting, this is what real. So we have another one here, SDG 14, talking about the climate and our planet too. to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. So you might want to ask, why are we talking about the oceans and seas? The oceans and seas contribute, they occupy more space on our planet Earth, more than even land. So we must pay attention to them. Why do we also need to pay attention to them? We are talking about food. We are talking about food. A lot of us enjoy seafoods, fishes. All of these things come from the ocean. So if we are having cases of ocean acidification and all of that, I mean, then we're destroying our planet. How can we continue to have consistent production of seafoods, fishes, and all of that? The oceans also help us to absorb a lot of emissions. So if we don't take care of the amount of emissions we are letting into the atmosphere, all we are telling the ocean is absorb more. By the time the ocean is absorbing more, then it is even becoming acidic. So we'll get to that point where we'd also have what we say, I mean, those days we used to hear acidic rain, acidic rain, acidic rain. That's where we'll get to. Our oceans become acidic, that they become unhabitable for any life. And then we get to the final bus stop, everybody starts crying. So we have to prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, including marine debris and nutrient pollution, minimize and address impact of ocean acidification, which I just talked about, scientific corporations at all levels, and then most importantly, effectively regulate harvesting and overfishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing and destructive and fishing practices. So these are things we have to pay attention to ourselves. You know, now we're even talking about the oceans. For those of us who come from riverine areas, we know that even in fishing, our local communities protect even our rivers, such that there are times you can fish and there are times you cannot fish. So why can we not do that to international body waters and all of that? And finally, SDG 15, talking about to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, and all of that. So the forest is an important part of our planet because common biology tells us that human beings inhale oxygen. We use oxygen for our survival and growth, and then we exhale carbon dioxide. However, plants use carbon dioxide for their photosynthesis, and then they give us oxygen. So it's a symbiotic relationship between plants and animals. What that means also is that we have to protect our forests. So this also means that without any energy, any energy, anything, without any industry, any refinery anywhere in the world, by the sheer amount of people in the world, we are going to also have climate change. Why? Because we're going to have more people build houses, more people take in oxygen, more people exhale carbon dioxide, and then we cannot build houses in forests. We'll also always have to cut down forests and all of that. That's why it's important. So where you have people talking about forest maintenance, this is the reason, because they help us maintain our Earth's atmosphere by amount of the gases present in the atmosphere. We cannot have too much of greenhouse gases. Those targets in sustainable development goals include combating desertification, restore degraded land and soil, including land affected by desertification, droughts, and what have you, and strive to achieve a land degradation neutral world, where we will not have so much land degradation. We should take urgent and significant actions to reduce the degradation of natural habitats. So a lot of us who live in the city, now this is a common test. We live in the city, travel to your village and try to experiment, the fineness of the air you breathe. It is so welcoming. But when you're in the city, pollution, no tree to take in, no trees rather to take in your carbon dioxide, you keep pumping into the atmosphere. So that's why we need to ensure that we take care of our forests. Our forests are carbon sinks, as a matter of fact. So we need to take care of them. We hear companies, organizations talking about planting a tree initiative. People are doing a lot. That is how we can take care of our planet. by ensuring that we maintain our forests. We should have an integrate ecosystem and biodiversity values into national and local planning, development processes, poverty reduction strategies and accounts. So a lot to be talked about, but we have to protect our forests because they help to contribute to the maintenance of our planet. How would you feel, as a matter of fact, if after living in this world, nobody else is able to live in the world again? I mean, tomorrow, we're talking about diseases here and there. It's also because we are not taking care of the planet. By the time we shift, the planet shifts is not balanced. A lot of imbalances on our planet, especially with respect to climate and all of these things. We begin to hear things that were never heard before. So I used to tell people that in the Niger Delta, one of the major challenges we are going to have is health in the coming years. Because not only have we, dealt with the trees that are supposed to be carbon sinks by way of industrialization, but also we have so much that even the available trees and plants around cannot take. And so these are important things we need to look at. In our own spaces, where we can save a tree, we should save. Where we can plant, we should plant. Where we can do things to protect and green places, we should protect it. Where we can protect fields, as little as fields, we should protect them because they are helping us. These are common ways we can, save our planet. Now, practical strategies and simple impact activities that can be undertaken to protect the environment. I've almost said everything through the SDGs I talked about earlier on, SDG 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15. But more importantly, not to spend so much time talking about them again, but how exactly can we do this? The first question is, what is the driver? What is the driver? Why? We've talked about the why. Is that why enough for you, or you don't care? If you don't care, I'm sorry, and other people don't care, then we don't have a planet. Everybody should start looking for the next Elon Musk jet to Mars. And I pray you get water, you get food in Mars, you can plant and trees will grow, crops will grow. We can have pear, we can have corn, we can have those things. Just to tease us a little. But then, what is the driver? Is it a personal driver, or you're waiting for the government to do something? We can all do simple things by the way we manage waste, by the way we manage plastics. I already mentioned that, by the way we do a number of things. But more importantly, we are going to talk about something that has even contributed more, so that in our own environment, it's even an eyesore today. So I'm going to talk about the term umuganda. So this is a Rwandan philosophy that helped after the genocide. Even pre-genocide Rwanda, this was the term, but it was really used after the genocide. Essentially, it's talking about community service. Today, community service is like, how do I put it? Because it's shameful. Community service is more or less, in local parlance, flexing. I'm trying to watch my time. It's more or less flexing. So people who engage in community service see it like showing off. Meanwhile, it should not be. That shouldn't be the case. So you see companies when once in a year or once in a quarter at best, they come out to say they are cleaning the street, or NYSC core members. We have what we call community development service in Nigeria. So, and a lot of people do not want to participate. But to even make it worse, in many states, the idea of sanitation has been scrapped. And so now we're talking about flooding. It's the planet. We're talking about a number of things. It's the same earth. When we don't have clean drainages, how can we have a clean, how can we have a sustainable planet? Why should we not have flooding? So these are questions we need to answer. And my response to this in today's webinar, I don't want to make it long because this is something we have to pay close attention to going forward. Community service. People should come out, clean their environments, clean the drainages. Don't litter plastics everywhere. Gather your waste properly, dispose properly. Take action. Let us come together. So you have, I have a picture of this that's here. So when we're looking at an aim, so the more every person participates collaboratively, the more we are going to achieve our goal by joining hands together to see that we do these things. Umangada in Rwanda, if you go to Rwanda today, a very clean city. I think one of the cleanest in Africa. This is because of the community service people do. So community service is not just a term for fancy. It's not a term to show off when you're having a birthday or your organization is doing so. It's something that everybody has to come together to do. We do not have to see it from a political point of view where it is because the state says we should do it. Yes, the state has a role, but we have a role as personal drivers because we are the only ones who can drive these initiatives and make it happen for us. And we should remember, out of the 8 billion people in the world, 8 billion humans in the world, what one person does affects everybody when it comes to the planet. What China does affects me in Nigeria. What is happening in India is affecting me in Nigeria because it has to do with, provided it has to do with climate and the planet, it's affecting me. So what I do also affects everybody. If I make savings for everybody. That's very important. And we should buy the idea of community service in the Rwandan philosophy, Umuganda. Thank you very much. And I hope I tried to make this short and quick so we can have time to interact. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alfred, that was a very wonderful, I liked the way you make it very simpler. You were smiling, you were using very, very simple terms to, to share your thoughts. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. So I've learned a lot. I've learned so much that I can't even begin to share. If I want to start sharing the insights I've gotten. I mean, this session is not going to end. So, please, thank you very much, sir. Let's welcome the last speaker, and I know that is going to be very brief so that we can wrap up the session. So, the next session will be anchored by Mr. Kennedy George. Mr. Kennedy, are you there? Please, can you say hi? Hello, is Kennedy there? Okay, Kennedy is there. Kennedy's there. Hello, Mr. Kennedy.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining. Okay, just hold on. Let me put you on the screen. Yes, sir. Okay. So welcome, sir. So please, can everybody see Mr. Kennedy? Is it projected? Okay, it's projected. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Please let me do this respect of sharing a brief information about Kennedy. So Kennedy today will be speaking to us on economic growth, fostering economic growth, fostering sustainable economic growth, It's going to talk about the goals and the strategies for simple impacts that we can take home and then begin to implement something as we are heading to that phase in the project. So Mr. Kennedy is a lecturer and a dedicated sustainability research professional. He holds a master's degree in industrial technology education from the University of Uyo, Nigeria. Kennedy's passion for sustainability research has led to the publication of 48 papers on sustainable development goals and other related topics in the international peer-reviewed journals. He has also authored 8 books published by IGI Global in the United States of America, all of which are accessible online. We can check them out and have a view of them, learn from them. Additionally, Mr. Kennedy has presented his research at 14 international conferences, further establishing his expertise and commitment to advancing sustainable development goals. So welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Please, sorry. The time that was given to me was 7:25. I think about 25 minutes from that time, but I tried to make arrangement for a convenient place for the webinar. Somehow, I understand the internet services and so many other planning challenges that may have led to the webinar starting maybe behind time. I'm trying to see how I can put myself together. For now, you have to manage the background, please. Sorry. First, good evening and congratulations to Team RAF, presenters and everyone attending the webinar. Actually, I received a mail a few days ago. Don't worry, I'll come up, okay? I received a mail a few days ago inviting me to speak on this interesting topic, fostering economic growth, goals, and strategies for simple impact. Well, when I looked at the flyer, I noticed that I was to speak, address goal 8, 9, and 10. But honestly, to tell you the truth, if you want to present these goals that way, the listeners may not, to some extent, really understand each of these goals. So I think we should pick these goals one by one and see how we can discuss, see how we can break it down so the listeners can understand. So I decided to pick 4 aspects of the SDG 8 and address this night. The first one that I will be discussing or I will be speaking on is economic growth before sustainable development and SDG 8. After that, I'll move to the need to promote SDG 8. And finally, the 4th aspect, strategic policies and strategic policies to promote SDG 8. So let me start from economic growth. Please, sorry, I'm trying to make arrangements for where you can see me very well because I'm having people at the background and I think it wouldn't be nice for this webinar. First, let me address economic growth. I'll say that economic growth is an increase in the production and consumption of goods and services within an economy over time. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, very well. Very well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Economic growth involves an expansion of economic productive capacity, leading to higher output, income level, and overall wealth. So when you talk of key indicators of economic growth, it involves increased GDP, employment level, and improvement in standard of living, reduced poverty, and enhanced opportunities for development. The key determinants in the economic growth of a country is largely dependent on workers and the labor force. So when you have worker skills, knowledge, time, and energy invested on daily business operations are factors that promote economic growth and productivity in that nation. And economic growth is more valuable, is indispensable, and is said to be productive when the numbers of skilled workers, when the number is increased and is equal to labor opportunities and is available across gender, ethnicity, race, and age. So we have to really understand what economic growth is. I don't want to bring in data from NBS and the rest of them. Because of time constraint, I want to put everything together and see how I can wrap in just some minutes. However, sustainable growth and development involves considerations of environmental impact, equity, and long-term viability. So let me see how I can bring in economic growth along with SDG 8, which is the focus of this topic. In simple terms, let me see if you can see me. Hello?
Yeah, we're with you.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, fine. Let me see what I can do so you see me very well. Can you see me? The organizer, Mr. Willie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear.
Sorry,
We can see you.
we have to manage this background because
Okay, it's all right.
before I can maybe sort out the issues concerning background. So, like I was saying, in a very simple terms, sustainable development is a means of combining economic development, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability to meet human needs without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their needs too. This means seeking mutual supportive approach whenever possible and making trades where necessary. The pursuit of sustainable development requires improvement in coherence and complementing policies across a wide range of sectors to respond to the complex development challenges ahead of the sector. It is centered on promoting economic growth, eliminating poverty, and protecting human-induced depredation. So sustainable development was established at the let me see if I can quote somewhere. So I will be sure of the information I'm giving to you. So, like I said, sorry, just give me a little time. Okay. Like I said, sustainable development was established at the Earth Summit, which we all know. I don't want to mentioning of so many other goals and the rest of them. But in this case, of course, we know we have 17 goals and 169 targets as the gender in question, or as the agenda in question. Now, how do we handle the issue of SDG 8? What's the focus of SDG 8? I'm trying to see how I can be fast because of time constraints. SDG 8 is focused on international community to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable growth, economic growth, full with productive employment and decent work for all. Decent work for all refers to adequate opportunities for work, the pay, safety at work, and healthy working conditions. It means a job, productive and better working conditions for everyone, including good, equitable pay, job security, and the rest. So I feel if we understand the social protection for workers, social integration, and prospect for personal development, it will go a long way to give us that sense of belonging and the possibility of thinking of what to do next. Decent work is a job opportunity that is legal. You have to understand that it must be legal and organized, pays a fair income, and allows freedom for workers to express their concerns. It creates long-lasting positive change in the society. And its essential components include, can think of equal opportunities and treatment for all. So social protection and security at the workplace, income and financial security, the opportunities for personal development, and social integration are all part of this goal. So decent work emphasizes the fundamental rights of workers, which includes the absence of force. You don't force workers to maybe do the things you feel they should do. Absence of child labor, non-discrimination at work, and freedom of association. Workers are allowed to exercise their rights, present their views and interests, and dialogue with employers and authorities to negotiate work-related matters. The SDG 8 presents specific targets to be achieved by 2030. In the following, let me see how if I'll be able to bring SDG 8 from 8.1 down. So we have the 8.1. So what is 8.1 saying? That there is need for sustained per capita economic growth in accordance with national circumstances, and in particular, at least 7% GDP growth per annum in the least developed countries. The growth trends observed around the world since 2000 are punctuated by the global financial crisis of 2008 to 2009, which affected upper, middle, and high income countries, especially those ones, especially hard on those ones that are trying to see how they can make ends meet, trying to come up with policies and the rest of them. The world economy is the world economy as a whole enjoys a high annual GDP per capita growth in the 4 years preceding the crisis of between 2008 to 2009. During the following decades, as after the period, the rate has been just over 2%. What I have here is that throughout this period, average performance has been stronger among upper middle and lower middle income countries, but weaker among lower and high income countries. This means that low income countries are failing to catch up with the level of economic growth achieved by developed countries or developed economies. Let me quickly go to 8.2. Now, SDG 8.2, the target is a call for achievement of higher level of economic productivity across diversification, technological upgrade, and innovation, including through a focus on high value added and labor intensive sector. Indicator for 8.2.1 monitors progress in the form of countries' annual growth rates and real GDP per employed person, which is equivalent to labor productivity growth in the world as a whole. This indicator shows a similar trend in that real GDP per person is supposed to be enough to feed, take care of the family, and live happily. The variation in labor productivity growth rates experienced serious since 2000 across countries, including groups, and so many things came up. So where we are today, when we talk of decent work, of course, we know even in Nigeria here, before you're able to get employed and maybe get trained on the job for high productivity, it takes so much. Some government agencies and a whole lot of private business owners, they don't believe in going into business with the mindset of making profit that is in line with what they have done. You see some people trying to either go through the back door for employment and so many other things. And this is seriously affecting the system. Let me look at 8.3. It has to do with potentially transforming the skilled workers. The focus of 8.3 has to do with structural economic reformation, where workers should be able to have that sense of belonging, irrespective of gender, irrespective of challenges, maybe physically, and the rest of them. So this goal 8 has taken time. The committee has taken time to break it down from 8.1 to 8A. I think I have it up to 8A. I have the 8.4, improve progressively through 2030 global resources efficiency in consumption and production, and endeavor to ensure that growth from environmental degradation and in accordance with 10 years framework of program. So we are trying to see that with this package, with this document, we should be able to now see what we can do to help the system work. Like myself, I have been able to train myself, not waiting for where I'm working. I've been able to see how I can acquire more skills that will help me to give the best. And this goal is also set if you're working somewhere and maybe the nature of work around that place is not the best, you should be able to get something, get trained to help you put in your very best. So at the end of the day, the decent what we are looking for can be achieved within this period of 2015 to 2030. Let me not go much into the different targets of SDG 8. But let me look at the need to promote SDG 8. The world is faced with major problems stemming from conflict, inequality, poverty, and lack of decent jobs. These problems drives a cycle of poor health and malnutrition and a general shift of human development. The evidence gathered by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2018 likewise confirmed the urgency of the 2030 agenda. If this fast approaching point is not avoided, then the world will face tremendous loss and damages, including food insecurity, water shortage, infrastructure destruction, and displacement due to rising sea levels. So in Nigeria, for instance, the high rate of unemployment has made the labor market exhibit some peculiar characteristics, which include, for example, the expansion of the informal sector, where many who would have remained unemployed take up low-wage jobs, or even self-employed, while hoping to pick up formal sector jobs when available. Another point is, in Nigeria, the way we are, the unemployment in the nation do not enjoy any form of, the unemployed do not enjoy any form of insurance or any social benefits from the government. The unemployment rates in official documents are usually very low due to the high rates of disguised employment and underemployment in the informal sector. So we look at also in Nigeria, self-employment, part-time employment, and unpaid employment in families, enterprise have disproportionate share in total employment. So in the era of where many are unemployed, organizations continue to treat workers poorly and even invest more in machines just to attain cheap labor. The exploration of labor in organization is on the increase as managers take undue advantages of their subordinates owing to lack of job security and inadequate job opportunities in the society. This fits the definition of modern day slavery, a term that reminds us that such practices, unfortunately, are still prevalent in a range of industries and organizations in Nigeria and across the globe. So, because of time constraints, let me look at the policies. Let me look at the strategies. Let me look at ways that we can promote SDG 8. I don't want to go to SDG 9 and SDG 10 because we cannot comfortably exhaust all these goals in the space of some minutes. So the International Labour Organization comprehensive employment policy framework based on the Employment Policy Convention provides guidelines for the design of national employment policies and youth employment strategies. The indicators associated with SDG 8 refers explicitly to the need for the strategy for youth employment, which can be adopted in the following ways. Now, I want to show you ways we can adopt comfortably, the strategies we can apply to comfortably adopt and key in to see how we can achieve decent work before 2030, which is the focus of Goal 8. And one of them is microeconomic policy. I'm quoting this from International Labour Organization. To achieve this, you see, we need to design, or the government needs to design productive measures with explicit goal of supporting job creation. In recent decades, the main focus of microeconomy, the main focus of microeconomic policy making has been of reduced inflation, while little attention paid to the production or promotion of employment. For example, building institutional capacity for the management of business cycle, the introduction of broad-based and progressive taxation system, transparent and well-regulated financial intermediation. With that support, the production sector of the economy seriously is crucial. And if we manage this system this way, you see that the microeconomic policy will help us to drive the SDG 8 and achieve this goal comfortably even before 2030. And the second thing I think should be done is that governments, NGOs, and individuals, in a bid to achieve this goal, should stimulate the economy through income and wage growth. Pursuing effective and sustainable wage policies has several advantages. First, such policy or policies can contribute to a pattern of sustained economic growth, which relies on the progressive increase of consumption by lower and middle income group, thereby boosting long-term investment and overall aggregate demand. And I also look at the need to promote social cohesion and social mobility, causing a broad segment of the society to feel part of the country's economic success. We should also look at reduce inequality in the market between low paid, high paid, as well as between male and female workers. So minimum wage, for instance, is a crucial part of such policies, as recognized by minimum wage fixing convention. So if we look at this analysis, it shows that when the minimum wage is set at an adequate and affordable level, adverse employment effects are either very small or completely absent. In many countries, collective bargaining, that is what is used to establish minimum standard and also to set wage or wages above an existing wage floor. Thirdly, from what I have here, the government, NGO, and individuals should activate labor market policies, which include demand and supply, as well as intermediation instruments to promote the inclusion of disadvantaged and vulnerable groups, such as the youth, the rural workers, the long-term unemployed, and workers displaced as a result of structural transformation and environmental degradation. So active labor market policy should also be used to facilitate the transition from school to work. Labor market adjustment and mobility, especially during economic downturn. So countries in so many other places are using this policy to address structural issues in markets, in labor markets, especially those related to the continuous transition that workers face over their lifetime. Let me quickly go to the fourth because of time. Given that the world of work nowadays is changing so fast, and also in view of the transformative nature of the sustainable development process, the front loading of skills through initial education and training is clearly inadequate. Future jobs will increase with time, relying on lifelong learning, which enables individuals to acquire new skills and upgrade existing skills throughout their lifetime. So skill development policies are an important component of any comprehensive policy framework for achieving SDG. Skill serves as a buffer that help workers and businesses to grow. Potentially negative impact associated with this are not really seen. So from the way I look at the way we handle decent work in Nigeria, I feel that we go for those quick areas that we can easily make money. You hear people mention Yahoo and so many other sharp practices. But I want to tell you that government and individual, if we develop a gender responsive policy framework to support full employment and decent work, essential for gender responsive and inclusive growth, we will achieve a lot. Increasing the number and quality of job available to women. I know we have some women in the platform, and I'm happy to tell you that this will help close gender gap at work, because sluggish or jobless growth tends to aggravate or to a negative employment outcomes for women. So gender responsive social protection policies, including the expansion of social protection benefit, in turn boost aggregate demand, act as income stabilizer, and promote the equal sharing of decent work opportunities between men and women. Like I said earlier, the SDG 8 is so wide and cannot be exhausted in days. Due to time constraints, I would like to conclude that the pursuit of, or the focus of SDG 8 is aimed at promoting sustained, inclusive, and economic growth, employment, and decent work for all. And we have so many strategies. I'll send this work, the work I have, I'm working on something. I'll send it to the team lead so he can put it up. So by integrating innovative approaches and actionable strategies for simple impact, we can achieve meaningful changes which pave the way forward for future where economic growth is not only robust, but inclusive and sustainable. So let us commit to these policies, ensuring that our collective effort today will someday yield a brighter and more equitable tomorrow for all. So for the participants, the team members, that is the organizing team, I want to tell you that decent work, if we look at some of these policies that can help us to achieve this decent work, at the end of the day, you smile in your house, sleep, rest, have good dreams without having the thought of running because of one EFCC case, because of one problem that you've involved yourself as a result of making money so fast. So decent work is the way to go, which is goal 8. I actually thank you so much for the time I rushed in to present this work or to attend to this call to speak. Seriously, I was a little busy and I'm trying to rush everything so that at least let me not disappoint the team for honoring this invitation to present. I'm very sure that a subsequent series of this webinar, if we start on time and the presenters also, if they are conscious of the time, we will be able to plan very well, and speakers will be able to start when they are supposed to start and end when they are supposed to end. In fact, I prepared to start by 7:25. I was somewhere waiting, but when I realized that it was about to 8, I decided to move from the place. I just rushed to stay somewhere and see that at least I attend to this call. I'm grateful and I thank you all for listening. Please, sorry for the rush and the haphazard whatever. I'm actually grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. That was a very beautiful presentation. Please, I want to call on Itowe Kerete if she's in, because the place I am right now is quite noisy. If she's in, she can take it up from here for me. Itowe Kerete, are you there? Please, if you are there, just take up the session from here. Let me organize my location. Thank you very much.
Someone stressed me. I was stressed somehow. So I just needed to move away from here to see how I can attend to these people. There's a webinar. Someone sent a topic to me. In fact,
Please, is it over there? It all can take up the session for me. It all can take up the session for me if she's right there. Thank you very much. I'm finding it difficult to hear from here. I can't hear.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to our last speaker for the insightful session. I believe that, please, if you have questions, it would be a good time to probably put up your hand so I could ask you to go ahead. I believe all of our speakers are in and they're willing to address all of your questions. So please, if you have questions, the floor is open. Just put up your hand and we'll go from there.
Yes, so all this running around, up and down, going here, and like today.
Could you kindly mute your mic? We could hear your conversation. Please, could you mute your mic, sir? Thank you so much.
please, the questions should be taken by all the speakers. We didn't have time to welcome questions when the other speakers wrapped up. So we are going to take all the questions right now. So please, if you have questions for the previous speakers, you indicate, please. Thanks.
Mr. Dan Abu Michael, I see your hand is up. Please, could you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you.
All right.
I really appreciate and I'm very happy to be among these participants of this webinar. I'm Dan Abu Michael Ngudi, an SDG advocate. I want to ask, please, Mr. Williams. My question is to Mr. Williams. Hello? Somebody is unmuted.
Please, if you're just joining the session, could you kindly mute yourself? Your environment is noisy so that we couldn't hear Mr. Michael. Thank you so much.
So, with respect to the current conflict, I want to say, or industrial conflict between the government and the organized labor union, I want to ask Mr. Williams, what is his take on the SDG 8, which talks about economic growth and I think is it employment? What can you remind me, please? Economic growth and is it sustainable employment now? What is his take? Is the government really putting into consideration, because they are signatories to these SDGs, are they putting into consideration in their negotiation with the NLC and other organized labor? Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Williams. The question from Mr. Michael is for you. Please, could you unmute and respond? I do hope he's still on the call. Network has not kicked him out. Okay, thank you, sir.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Loud and clear, sir. Please go ahead.
Fine. The question is about organized labor and government compliance with SDG 8. I'm sure that's what the question is all about.
Yes, sir.
Fine. The SDG 8 started in 2015. And I want to tell you that they have a representative. They are aware of the 17 goals outlined by the those that came up, let me put it that way, simple, with these goals. They are aware. And I think the organized labor and the NLC TUC, from my perspective, are using the SDG 8 to fight. The reason I'm saying that is this: what they are asking for is living wage. I'm sure that's what they are asking for. So before you can perform your responsibilities very well where you're working, you should have that wage that complements or in line with your efforts. So the government, I think they are trying to see how they can move away from that responsibility. Of course, we are here. You know the inflation and everything. So I feel the labor leaders are fighting based on the recommendations of SDG 8, while the government are trying to see how they can, I wouldn't say run away from the SDG 8, but are also trying to maybe put some other considerations, put some other things into considerations before giving approval. So I think the labor and the government, they are aware of this SDG 8 that has to do with decent job. That is what I think.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking that question. Mr. Michael, I hope you have gotten clarity and answer to your question, yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Please, do we have any other question? Just put your hand up and I would unmute you and you go ahead and ask your question. I believe we've had 3 speakers and you may have had questions when the first and second speaker were on. Please, now is a good time to unmute yourself and ask your questions. If where you are is too noisy, you could quickly type it in the chat box. We read it out and go from there. We'll give it say till 8:40. Please, the floor is open. If you have questions, go ahead and ask. Mr. Michael, sir, please go ahead. I see your hand is up again.
Thank you. Don't be surprised I'm asking. As I said earlier, I'm very, very happy to be a participant here. Last time, the last webinar, I log in, I think mid into the webinar, I slept off. So I'm very happy that I could participate from now to the end of this webinar. My question is to Rachel, please. She talks about the inclusivity, to include as inclusive program development and implementation. And where I'm working, I'm in the, with all due respect, I'm in the northern region of the country. And what we witness on site is that we all know and we have been seeing that there's ability in disability, but there is challenges that will always come across. That there will be these particular persons that among the few that will just be capitalizing on the social interventions that are often available in this zone to say, okay, any activity that comes, they are just there to benefit. And on the long run, you see that they will not have any major impact in their livelihood. For example, this set of people, they have benefited from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 programs. And they are incapacitated as it is. So what can we do to see that these people are not perpetual beneficiaries or service users of intervention? Because I'm sorry to say, sometimes we have to say, no, this one you will not be among, because we know them by face. And so we'll say, no, this one you should not partake again. And we'll feel bad or sometimes. Or we'll feel, okay, maybe we are not following the code of the humanitarian services. So I don't know what he can debrief me or how to handle those instances. Is it right for me to say, okay, no, you are not partaking this time around and my conscience should be free, or we should keep allowing them to be participating, and they will not make use of maybe the machine they give them or the interventions that they give them. But once this kind of program comes, they may want to participate, and they also have these contact persons over there that will always link them up, because we can't do it by ourselves. We need indigenous people there to collaborate with.
Thank you very much for your question. And you know, when dealing with projects practically, that was why I went into some practical projects people do in the community. You actually encounter such difficulties. It is not easy to carry out projects in communities. So that is why I majored on SDG for talking about education. So this is where education plays a role, because I said when it comes to this inclusion, education is the basics. So when you have them, you have to actually educate them and educate them on the importance of being responsible for their own upkeep or for their own livelihood. So when you meet them, you tell them your disabilities does not prevent you from playing a role. So that is why I said in inclusion, everyone, we understand that everyone has a role. That is what you have to remind them. Even in their disability, they have a role to play as an individual. So that is where you educate them. How do they make impact? So that is where educating those vulnerable people comes in. So you educate them, advocate to them that they actually have their own role to play as individuals in developing the livelihood of the community and developing the community as a whole. So that is where education comes to play a role, and educating them, telling them although you have those, sorry to say, those stubborn ones that will still want to get all these benefits every time it comes, but there are, especially the youths among them, when you educate them and tell them as an individual, no matter who you are, no matter what your disability, you have a role to play. So what are these roles you can play? What are the things you can do? You can actually learn a skill and teach others the skill. Like I'm talking about those people, like, for example, I talked about those people who can educate their kind, who have hearing impairments. So if you have just a little group of them and you educate them on a particular you advocate to them about a particular need. So when they get this message, they will be able to pass it on to people like them, who they can actually transfer that knowledge through sign languages. So education plays a vital role. Constant education, telling them also that they have a role to play in improving their community or making their community better, and especially they as individual improving their rights. They have a responsibility for themselves. Thank you very much. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, Madam Rachel. Thank you. Yes, education is very important. Thank you so much, Ma, for taking the time to explain that. Please, do we have any other question? Do we have any other question? If there is none, I'd like to say on behalf of Reactivate Africa, thank you so much to all of our speakers.
Hello.
Yeah, yes, somebody's speaking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Oluwadamilare.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to appreciate the speakers for, this session.
You have a question?
Yeah, very insightful. I think let me just, because of our time, I want to know, because I'm a consultant, environmental consultant, because what I've seen on site, sometimes I'm just thinking, are we actually adopting these SDG goals? Because, for example, now I think one of the speakers mentioned about mining, because what I've seen so far is just that people actually, what are the government's commitment to these SDG goals? As an individual, I can do it on my own, I can try, but if we don't have government commitment, what do you think is going, what can an individual in this kind of platform do? That's one question. So, and what is the current trend, or what is the current status of these SDG goals, even in Nigeria? Because how do we monitor it so that we know that, okay, what is the improvement level So we're saying that by 2030, that should have achieved that. So what is the current status now? What do we have to do? And how do we get this goal reached in Nigeria? That's my question for the host. I said, well, sorry, for the, how will I say it? Help me with that, sir, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Damilare. Sorry, I got that wrong. Please, does any of our speakers want to take up that question, please?
Okay.
Thank you, Ma. Please go ahead.
That is why it is actually important we collectively advocate that we would be included in policy making. We actually know in our country, some policies don't actually support what we do or support support achieving these sustainable goals. There are difficult policies that makes it difficult for us to try, but that is where advocacy comes in. You don't stop talking about it. You keep talking about it. You keep asking for inclusion in their policy making. When such policies are being made, we should be invited. Civil societies, that is where inclusion, everybody should be included in this policy making, so we can actually make the policies together to make the environment conducive for everybody. And talking about how we can actually assess the progress. Each year, we have the goals, the SDG goals report that is being released yearly. So you can actually go online. We have this global reports on the progress of each country. Nigeria, we are actually trying our best, but in most of these SDGs, we are still behind. That is just the truth. But it won't stop us from working. It won't stop us from talking about it. It won't stop us from advocating for a better life for ourselves, for our communities, the nation, and the world at large. We will keep talking. We will keep advocating and making our own individual little impacts. If you make your little impact, I make my little impact, and each and every one of us makes an impact in one way or the other. When we bring all the impacts together, you see that we've achieved quite a lot when assessing the progress of it. So I don't know if anybody can add one. If anybody can also one of the speakers can also contribute. So this is it from me. Thank you.
All right. So if I may add quickly to that. So the first part of it is how you can contribute. While I was making my presentation, I made emphasis on the little things we could do. Sanitation, I made a lot of emphasis on sanitation, right? Another thing is how we use. So you see people walking on the street, they finish taking a sachet of water, and the next place they want to throw it is inside the drainage. Like that is where they see as their trash. And then we're talking about the fact that our drainages are blocked, erosion, a little rain, and everywhere is flooded. Personal habits, those are the things that individuals can do, while the government and companies are doing other things. On tracking the SDGs and what's been happening. So I'll just, Richard said there is an SDG report released every year, progress report released every year. You can find on the Sustainable Development Goals website. Let me just show you what I mean. So from this page, sdg.un.org/goals. Since SDGs were launched in 2015, right? So we have a progress report for 2016 up until 2024. And when you go through these reports, you understand how much progress has been tracked, over the years. I hope that this helps.
Yeah, can I ask Can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead. This will be the last question for the night, please. Mr. Barak, go ahead, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm joining from Ghana. My question is, I saw this webinar on a friend's status on WhatsApp and I decided to join. So I want to know the structure of it, how I can have regular updates to know when you will have a webinar and how I can join subsequently. But I also want to thank the team for putting up this initiative. It's really, really enlightening. And I think we need this conversation. That is at least what we can also do to bring best practices to bear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barak. Mr. Willie, can you please take that? Mr. Willie Akpan, can you please answer Mr. Barak's question, please? Thank
Yes. Although I didn't get that very clear. But I heard him say that this is his first time joining, that he got the information from a WhatsApp status and he decided to take part. So please, the webinar is, we're having a monthly webinar. The SDG Connect program is being implemented in batches. This is the first batch. This is the second webinar that we have had. I think we're going to give you a better brief. If we can drop your details and we'll send you the information, a comprehensive information about the program so that you know how to key in and take the best of its value. Please, if you can drop your details, maybe your WhatsApp number, we'll add you to, okay, just check the comment section. I'm going to drop a link to you. You just join the community. I'm sorry, my background is lousy. I'm going to drop a link in the comment section. Follow the link to join our WhatsApp community. We are going to follow the discussion from there. Please, let me know if I was there. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Willie. Thank you, Mr. Willie. Thank you. Mr. Barak, I hope that was clear enough. I think we'll have one more webinar and then we'll have a project for this batch of for this session to be done completely. So this is the second webinar. We have a community where all of this information is shared, as Mr. Willie said. Please look in the comments and join so you could have regular updates. And with that being said, I want to thank every single one of us that has been on this call up until now. Thank you. You guys are the real MVPs. Thank you so much to our speakers. You have been awesome. We appreciate you. We would meet again next month for another session of lessons and things that we should take up as individuals to promote the SDGs. And of course, we're going to communicate that. So if you're not in the community already, please look in the comments, click the link and join the community so you could get the information firsthand. And this is where my job description for today comes to an end. Just before that, please could you turn on your cameras? I do hope you're where there is light, not like some of us. Please turn on your cameras. We want to do a quick photo, a quick virtual photo. Thank you so much. I can see. Yes, thank you. Turn on your cameras for a quick photo. Mr. Willie, this is your cue to start taking the pictures. Please turn on your cameras. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, to hear my voice again next month, I would leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Jumbo, who will be doing the closing remarks for this session. I do hope he's still on the call. Network has not kicked him out.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your cooperation. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma.
Yes, can we hold on one more? Let me take one more shot.
Kai me masija ko ta kare ma ne? Naga sun tura wani link sun ce.
Thank you, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Willie. Sir Jumbo, please, the floor is yours. Please quickly do the closing remarks so that we could call this a night.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
Oh, okay. I think Mr. Willie has Mr. Jumbo has been kicked out, so I'll do the honors. Thank you so much again. Till we meet next month, do have a wonderful night's rest and enjoy the rest of the month. Have a good night. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone.